All right, so we're going to call what I believe to be Action Dan, who apparently has played on Stones Live before. So he's not an unknown entity to Stones, and he wants to give his side of the story based upon that phone call that we did last week with that younger guy and what he has to say, basically. So this is going to be interesting stuff.
Yellow.
Hi, Dan. This is Bart Hanson calling. This is Dan, right?
Yes, sir.
How you doing?
Doing great. How are you doing?
Good. I appreciate you reaching out and wanting to tell your side of the story. Right before I called you, I kind of filled in some of the, people that are going to watch this or listen to this. Of course, we're talking about the call that I put up last week, another incident at Stones. And just to summarize, and then I want to, of course, take your side of it, this younger guy said that he was playing at a 1-3 table with you, and you were constantly going into the discards. And I want to make a clear point of this. He made it sound, and I asked him over and over again, he made it sound like you weren't rabbit hunting, but you were going in and seeing his cards, his discards, and he saw you do it multiple times, and there was an altercation, and there might have been some threats. So, but you reached out to me and you wanted to tell your side. So how do you see what happened during that incident?
So I've been playing poker for a long time, probably 25 years.
Okay.
There is thousands of people that know who I am. They call me Action Dan.
Action Dan. Okay.
Action Dan. Been playing live streams, playing Vegas, play the main event. I do a lot. So kind of what was happening is we were in the middle of a hand. There was 3 of us left in the hand. I checked. The guy in front of me bet 35. Then another guy folded, and then another guy bet 100.
Okay.
I was on a nut flush draw.
Okay.
Thinking, okay, for $100, I'm not going to call because I'm only on a draw. This guy has a bet or something, because I know the player that was playing.
Sure.
So I folded. The other guy folded.
Mm-hmm.
After that hand, the dealers were changing.
Okay.
So the dealer just grabbed everything, set the cards up, and as he was getting up, I reached over. I rabbit hunted. Yes, I did.
Okay.
I took the top card off and looked at took the turn card off and looked at the river card.
Okay.
And I was like, holy crud, I hit my nut flush.
Mm-hmm.
And so the guy to my left, two seats over, which I know him, I've played with him a few times. He's kind of a player that will stir up something at a table, and then he'll call the floor.
Is that the guy that called in, this kid? Is that the same guy?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I've seen him play many a times on other tables, and he stirs up a table a lot, and he'll cause a problem or speak up or, you ain't so tough. And then as soon as somebody says something to him, floor, call the floor. And he'll kind of like tattling,
Mm-hmm.
like protect me, I'm going to speak up.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've rabbit hunted. I mean, I've played 10, 25 games. I've played some big games, and yes, I admit I rabbit hunted. So I look over at him, and this guy is like staring me down, like dogging me. And I was like, you got a problem, dude? First of all, my exact words to him, people that know me know I don't get mad at a table.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot to stir my pot.
Right.
And I go, dude, first of all, you go tattle on something that you have no right to even talk about. You can say something to the floor, go talk to him, but you don't need to say it at the table. And he goes, I ain't scared of you. I said, well, that's fine. I says, we can get up from the table. We can walk out in the parking lot. We can talk about it out there so we're not here.
Mm-hmm.
We can do that. Screw you. I ain't scared of you. I'm going to call the floor. And he started, getting all like wild class. He's calling the floor. And my exact words to him were, I've eaten people like you in prison.
Okay.
Just threw a smart ass remark out to him.
Uh-huh.
I think I said I've eaten more people worse than you in prison.
Have you ever been to prison, by the way, or were you just joking?
I was making a comment. I was being a smart ass.
Okay, no, I get it.
And I loved it when you said, hey, that guy's been to prison. You better back off. I heard the story.
Well, I think that there's a big I mean, I'm glad that you sort of cleared this up. I have a couple of questions because I think there's a huge difference between the way that this guy was conveying what happened and what is rabbit hunting. If you listen to the video, I said, rabbit hunting is not allowed because supposedly, if you go in and you see somebody, you might get some more information as to what somebody was trying to represent. But obviously that was not your intention. You're just trying to see if you hit your draw. No. By the way, I've rabbit hunted too. I've rabbit hunted on Live at the Bike. It's not something that I will do commonly.
I've done it at the bike and got in trouble.
Okay. But there's a huge, huge difference between rabbit hunting
looking at other people's cards.
And going in and seeing, and you never have done that, right? I take it.
And I've heard him say that, and he says, he's done it multiple times, 4 or 5 times. I have in my entire life, as long as this is a kid that called in. Right. I'm 55 years old. In my whole entire life playing cards, have I never, ever grabbed on the table and grabbed somebody else's cards and turned them over. I tell you what, that's the number 1 way to get your butt in a fight. That's the number 2 way to get your butt kicked out of the casino. So, plus, it's disrespectful. You don't play like that.
No, and that's why I was so outraged. And I think I've learned from a few, I don't know if you've seen some of these other calls where I've kind of dogged on the decision by the floor in the casino. But, I'm going to do some more due diligence when we get some of these things that come up. Because, by the way, this kid gave some misinformation during the live stream. And I'm glad I fact-checked it because I had asked him, I don't know if you saw the live, but I put it on private. I said, was Justin Curitis there? Was he working the floor? And the guy said, yes, he was. And I checked it I checked it with people and I found out that he wasn't. So right then and there, it was like, okay.
I'm pretty popular at Stones. People know me. I play at Capitol.
Yeah, absolutely.
I play at Thunder, but I play like I said, I go to Vegas and play every year. So I'm very well known, and people know me. I think you've done live stream for Stones before, correct?
Yeah, a lot. So I reached out to several people at Stones, and when I asked who was this guy, speaking of you, because somebody had told me you'd played on the live stream, right? There were a bunch of people that seemed to know you. The consensus was that you are a guy that gives a lot of action. You're there to have a good time. You're fun. And the consensus was from these people that this kid that has a problem with Dan is way out of line because Dan is so much fun and he gives so much action. And most people said, even the ones that didn't hear the story, I'm sure Dan was just rabbit hunting. He wasn't going to turn over the kid's cards. That was.
So my biggest thing is
consensus.
When I go to a table, I can say it this way. Sorry to interrupt you. I apologize.
No worries. Yeah.
Here's the thing about me, and everybody that you can talk to that knows me, which are probably hundreds of thousands of people, but when Action Dan sits at a table, people put in table changes just to get to that table because I love to play cards. I could lose $5,000-$10,000. I can win $5,000-$10,000. Sure. You know what? It's not about what I win or lose. I love playing the game.
Sure. I mean, you are the definition of somebody somebody who was, and I don't mean this in any type of bad way, but if somebody who's trying to like play poker and like win some money, they want to be at Action Dan's table because the action's going to be basically, flying fast and furious, which just goes to show like this kid guy, whatever, if you were to ever call in for advice from me again, I would be like, dude, you've got to learn like the ways of what live poker is. Why would you want to get into it with a guy like Action Dan that's well-liked in the card room and that is giving action? Obviously, everybody knows who you are and that you just rabbit hunt. So what? You rabbit hunt. What's the big deal? I can guarantee you, Dan, for whatever reason, let's say you went and played on Live at the Bike, like in their big game, like 25, 50, 50, 100. You know some of the characters there.
I played one time. I have played down there.
Okay, but if you played on the show, on their big game, if it ever comes back,
right,
I can guarantee you that if you bring the type of action to the table that you're talking about, guys like Garrett, guys like Andy, whoever's at that table, they're not going to give a fuck if you rabbit hunt. They would care. They would care like me. They would care like me if you turned over their cards, but you're obviously not doing that, right?
Yeah, and those 5-5 games down there at the bike, which I played in, you know, because those games get big. Oh, yeah, I'm telling you, it doesn't matter who it is. People love playing with me at the table. And then the one thing I gotta correct that he said that was very disrespectful to Stones. I know, don't get me wrong, we're not going to talk about it, but there's some bad stuff that's happened at Stones.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't blame everybody. So whatever's happened has happened. Whatever's going on is going on. But when he said that the floor came over, and then I looked at the floor, and I know exactly who it was because he's one of my friends. Yeah. I did not look at the floor and say, well, we can take it outside too.
Well, I wanted to ask you, I was going to ask you specifically about that because I want to, let's put the thing aside that we're talking about with Stones and the Apostle thing, which is a whole different thing. But let's talk about this incident. I want to sort of step back. Again, remember, I was critiquing what was conveyed to me by this kid, which apparently obviously does not seem to reflect what actually happened. So I want to take a couple steps back and walk it back and ask you about that. And if it's true that none of that was ever said. So it's not like the floor heard you say, let's go outside, and they didn't do anything about it.
No, that was way before. And I was like, hey, let's go to the parking lot. We can talk about it out there. We don't have to talk about it at the table.
Now, do you think that see, I'm hearing a couple things here. Like, it sounds to me like this kid is a troublemaker or he tries to stir this shit up. Do you think that it could be interpreted by someone that you possibly might have been threatening him in some way that didn't know you?
No.
I
would never, ever threaten anybody. I've never done that in my life. Not at no table. Don't get me wrong. I'm a Marine and everything else. But I would never, ever threaten someone at all. That's far from me. Everybody knows that. Everybody that knows me, it's not like, dude, I'm going to go outside and kick your butt. I would never say something like that. It's like, let's step away from this table. You want to dog me and look at me like that? I'm not going to back down from nobody. I mean, but the way he was looking at me was like, I'm not scared of you. I'll fight you. You know, how he's looking, just dogging me down.
Right.
And when the floor came over, the floor told him to stop 2 times because he kept staring at me. And then the floor stood there and he says, come on, Dan, let's just, because I know who came over. I don't want to bring no names up, but he was like, hey, let's stop. I said, that's fine. But now look at, and I pointed over at him. I said, so you telling me to stop, but he's looking over there, giving me these like growling at me as you're sitting here talking to me. So he looked back over it for the 3rd time and told him, let's go ahead. You want to get up and we'll move you to a different table? The guy says, yes.
Well, that sounds like a pretty good resolution. By the way, I will take exception to some of the comments that were in that YouTube video, because it sounds to me like this is the situation, is that you've been there forever. You've played at Stones for a long time. Everybody knows you. This guy might be somewhat new in the I don't know, he's been there for a few years. He said he just started playing. So some people were like, well, the floor must know this guy, Dan, and they're giving him preferential treatment. And it's not that it's preferential treatment. It would be the fact that if the floor knows who you are, Dan, and knows who you are as a person, and has been in previous situations with you, whether it's through conflict or whatever, and they know, you know, what type of guy that you are, of course they should use that information in determining who might have stirred up a conflict, right?
Yeah, but he's done this multiple times. Yeah, like I said, he's one of the guys. We have 2 individuals that literally come to the Stones. Like I said, I'm a regular, and they come to the Stones, and they will talk poop at a table, stir things up where they shouldn't. They talk the wrong kind of poop, and they will stir stuff up. And then as soon as somebody puffs their chest and says, dude, you ain't going to talk to me, like they'll call somebody a punk or something.
Right.
And then that guy that he called a punk, they're going to, dude, you ain't talking to me like this. And then they'll raise their hand and they'll call the floor over for protection.
Right. Oh, right. Just kind of like,
kind of like a chicken shit move. And he's one of those 2 guys.
So, and by the way, so just to wrap this in a bow, Dan, like, when it was just he just said to you, like, oh, you can't do that, you can't rabbit hunt. Is that basically what started this particular situation?
It more or less, but it was like as soon as I grabbed that card, what are you doing? And he started yelling, what are you doing? You can't do that. That ain't how we play cards. You can't do that. Who the hell do you think you are? And he started getting like that, like just going wild. And people were like looking at him like, calm down.
Yeah. No,
then that's when I spoke up.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
as somebody that might commonly rabbit hunt for whatever reason, and people, like I said, people know that you give action, this might not necessarily have been the first time where somebody objected to you rabbit hunting. If someone said to you sort of in a nice way, hey, like, I don't like that, or can you not do that while I'm at the table, what would you think? Would that cause you to not rabbit hunt with that person around?
I would say, hey, yeah, no problem. I won't do it again.
Okay. So it was just the attitude, basically.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And I didn't threaten him like, I'm going to go kick ass. Nothing. Let's step away from the table and talk about this. We don't need to talk about it here, stop the game, everything else. Because I tell you what, I hate it when the game stops when I'm there. Because it happens.
Well, like I said, I had like 10 people contact me. Like 10 different people,
Yeah.
They sort of found out that it was you, and they all...
I know a few of them because I got phone calls too.
They all said that, like, Dan, there's no way that Dan looked at somebody else's cards. He was just rabbit hunting, and that everybody would want Dan in the game. And, you know, they couldn't believe that you would be at fault basically in this situation. So,
Yep.
You know, I'm glad that we had a chance to clear it up. Obviously we didn't know who you are. So it wasn't like we were using your name like in the call, but I have learned from this is that I do want to sort of do a little bit more due diligence sometimes when some people call in these stories. And whoever that floor guy was, again, we didn't name him. I'll apologize because it seems like he handled it correctly.
He handled it great. He told the guy 3 times to knock it off. He asked me to stop. I was like, no problem. Just tell him to stop dogging me. It'll be totally fine. I know we have to ignore things because sometimes people get frustrated at the poker table.
Sure.
The guy got crushed. He lost all of his money. They moved him to the other table with like $600. He got crushed in the second hand and he left. So yeah, he was probably frustrated that he was losing anyway. But me, I'm the most gentle player, the most gentle teddy bear you'll ever play with. And if you ever are there's a game that I'm playing on, oh, you're gonna love watching that and talk about that table because everybody wanted me there because that's what I do. I'll give the most action, and I love to play the game. I love to have fun.
So the last question: Do you mind if I take a screen picture of an episode that you were playing like on Stones Live and use it in the YouTube thumbnail for this?
That's totally
Okay.
fine.
All right, cool.
Shoot me the YouTube because I want to watch it.
No, absolutely. I absolutely will. I'm glad
email it to me or text it.
Yeah, absolutely. It will probably come out next week, and I'll send it over to you.
Because we have a few friends in common, people that you are friends with that I'm very close friends with. So
okay, cool, great. Well, I'm glad that you cleared that up, Dan. Glad that we clear everything up. Like I said, I'll walk back my comments about this particular floor man at Stones. It seems like this particular gentleman was shaping this story to his benefit. But I appreciate it, Dan. Take it easy.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Well, Dan's gone. That was interesting. Let me give you my take on this. And again, this is from a lot of messages and stuff too. And there was a guy that I know that I'll read some of the stuff. You know, one guy says is that, you know, Dan's there to have a good time. You know, usually he's giving a lot of action, donating to the game, and everybody knows it. He knows it, and the point is that everyone really should keep him happy, Dan. Keep him having fun, keep him coming back. And, you know, that's how I would look at it, too. I mean, the guy sounds like he's there to have a good time. There aren't a lot of guys like that, especially at the mid to low stakes levels, that will drive that type of action. So if we take what Dan is saying here, you know, on the surface where he's basically just, you know, rabbit hunting. A lot of times people will call in and they'll be like, you know, have these live intangible questions. And then you look at this other kid or guy that's trying to play for profit that's new to the game. Maybe who knows? I mean, maybe he's not playing for profit. That's not how you want to act. Why would you want to stir up something with Action Dan, a guy whose his nickname in poker has the word action in it? Why would you object to Action Dan rabbit hunting when it's obvious that Action Dan is just looking to see if he would have hit his draw? He's not trying to gain any extra information by rabbit hunting, and it's quite obvious that action Dan wasn't turning somebody's discards over either. So I'm glad that we cleared that up. And sounds to me like, again, the floor probably handled it properly, especially if they have a history with Dan and they know him. Of course, they're going to use that information. You know, if you know a guy's a problem, you're going to use that information in a future type of situation. And if you know a guy's not a problem, you should use that information in a disagreement or a future situation. How can you not use your prior knowledge or your prior information about a certain person when you're dealing with some type of like conflict resolution like this? It only makes sense, right? If you like what you've seen here, please hit the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this call in hand, hit the like button down below. To check out crushlivepoker.com, click on the link in the description. Use the code YTA300 to get the first 30 days for free.